Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about what it says up there, the Great War and the Sundering. I uploaded this page, a couple of days ago. It's the middle of the night actually now, and I really should be going to bed, but I'm putting it off by doing this video, so it's very unwise of me. But I'm going to do it anyway. And what it is pretty much like a director's commentary on this account of the Great War and the Sundering. It's a good idea, a very good idea in fact, if you're going to watch this video, to read the Great War and the Sundering account, which is actually fairly extensive. It's quite long. You can find it on the IOC website, but I'll put a link to it, direct link, into the video description. And I'm just going to go through it in sort of little stages and just say about my thoughts about it and the just the inner workings of my mind as I came up with ideas for it. It's also for me this to remember how I came up with some of these ideas and what I was thinking at the time. So not just for you guys, but for me as well. As indeed is the entire project, I guess. So yeah, go ahead and read that, because if you don't, then you won't understand many of the things I'll be talking about. Okay, let's start. Alright, the first point I want to make is right at the start actually. It's the meddling of the elves. This is like the second or maybe even third version of events with the Great War. And up until this version, what happened was everything was set out as it is with the Tachi, the elves and the dwarves, and then the demons from Carthamore just come and they just attack. Just randomly. They just decide, right, we're going to invade. And that just didn't cut it. And I figure that with the elves being responsible for a lot of bad things, it's in their nature to start something like this. And misguided as they were, they summoned the Jakath into the world, and that the snowball effect happened, and eventually the war happened. And that wasn't there before. So I just wanted to make that little point, that the elves started it, and that wasn't there before the demons just attacked. I think it's better this way. It is better. Okay, now we'll move on to the flux, the magic flux. Initially, the flux was going to be part of the Aetia race, which was part of Iosia. It was one of the races that was warped by dark magic. They were a race of magic users, frail magic users, which I've mentioned in other videos. Eventually I decided that they would actually become the elves, and I just didn't bother with the Aetia race at all, but I thought the flux was a good idea, and initially I didn't bring the flux over to the elves along with the Aetia idea. But I figured I needed a catalyst to start something, and I thought the flux was a very good way to do that, with it being such a very powerful magic artifact. So it just seemed like a natural thing to do, to bring the flux over with the Aetia's sort of nature into the elves. And so thus the elves had the flux, and then we all know what happened there because you've all read it. They used the flux badly, and they didn't understand its power, and lightning struck it, and yeah, the Jakath were called forth. On a side note of that, I'm not sure whether this storm that I mentioned down here was natural or not. I do say it was a very bad storm, but I don't say whether it was some sort of divine intervention or just some sort of freak thing that happened. Because to be honest, at this stage I'm not entirely sure, but it happened, and the rest, as they say, is history. Also a little note about the appearance of the flux. It says there it's a sort of a giant wheel of runic stones, which may well change, because I've written that elves don't really work with stones, but they do work with wood. But I didn't think it really worked that this magical artifact was made of wood. It seemed, I mean, obviously, like, you can make it resistant to fire and stuff and harden it, but it just doesn't seem right to have it made of wood. So for now it's made of runic stones, which, you know, elves don't work with stones, but it doesn't matter. 20 feet in diameter, which is magically suspended between two great mighty pillars towering above the spires of the elven capital Alien. Now this sounds a little bit like something else that people may know about, which is kind of like the Eye of Sauron. I thought it was a little bit like that, with this wheel between these two pillars. Obviously they're very entire, you know, different things, but you know, there are parallels to it, and I was aware of it when I was thinking of this. Also, there's a parallel with the ring being this almighty, powerful force that, if used badly, can, you know, destroy the world or, you know, have terrible effects, which kind of has a parallel to Lord of the Rings. It's different enough, and I'm very happy with it. That, I mean, it's really nothing like Lord of the Rings, but the parallels are there, and I kind of like it that they are sort of similar but massively different. I think that's all I want to say about the flux, unless there was something else. I think there is something else, but it'll come later. Yeah. The Siege of Alien. In the first version of this tale, the Siege of Alien was the main siege of the whole war, and Alien still fell. And in that version, the elves went and met with the dwarves, and then they came south and fought the no, they didn't fight the Tachi. They fought the demons, but the demons back then, the world was divided into sort of north and south continents, and the demons were amassing on the south continent, on this peninsula, ready to go up to the north, and the battle happened on this peninsula. And obviously that has now changed, because I felt that another thing with dumbing down the world, not dumbing down it, but reducing the world down in size, was that the elves had to go like maybe like 2,000 miles to get to the dwarves, and then they had to go another 1,500 miles to fight the demons, and that sort of time scale is like ridiculous. So again, I've condensed everything down, and this time after the battle, the elves go and see the Tachi, which initially did not have a home city. They just were sort of wandering around everywhere and decided to give them a city, and that's what Chatilia is. It's their home city, which is a new creation, and it just happened into my head when I was writing this. I mean, it's not currently on the map that's on the website either, but it's gonna be, because that's just something that just happened. You know, they were gonna have this epic fight at this city instead of at Alien. So it also made like the elves a little more desperate to do what they did at the end. It gave them a little bit more motivation to do what they did with seeing how beautiful the Tachi had built their city. Made it a little bit more sort of show don't tell type thing. So they saw how beautiful everything was there, and Erin Sol, the Elven Queen, was just driven a bit mad by envy of it. This little civil war that the demons have over the magic flux was a bit of a filler, really, I guess. It happened for a few reasons. The first reason was I wanted the alliance of the three races to have enough time to gather their forces. You've got elven refugees flooding towards the Tachi capital, and you've got dwarves coming down from the southernmost of their fortresses. and I wanted to give them enough time to be able to mount a solid defense. I don't think they could have done that if the demons had gone straight from Alien, summoned a bunch more, and then headed straight for whatever it's called, the Tachi capital. Yeah, Giglio, whatever it is. Sorry, as I say, that's a new place, so the name is not engraved in my head. So they had this war, and the second reason, well, the Civil War, this little infighting thing that they had. The second reason that I did it was because I wanted to weaken the demons enough to give the 3 races a fighting chance, because 6 Karth in the lore that I have in my mind should have been able to completely wipe the floor with them. I mean, the elves stood the chance because they had the magic flux, but without the magic flux would have weakened the Ch'Karth. But yeah, without it, the Ch'Karth would have been pretty much unstoppable. So I needed a way to get rid of some of them, and it made a perfect opportunity to get rid of 4 of them. So you just left with Vaxus and his bride, which I don't actually say in here, but yeah, I reckon Vaxus and Sithlia is they're sort of a couple, a sort of very unholy union of demons. So Vaxus and his bride, or Vanus and his bride, sorry. God, I got so many names in my head. Were the only 2 that actually launched the assault against the Tachi, but that's why that's there initially, to give the 3 races chance to form up and to also weaken them. I also made a point to say that the demons were like that. This is a big freaking army that they've got. I'm not sure whether I do a good enough job of conveying the scale of this army that they have. But let me know in the comments if you get the idea. One of the last points I want to make is about the magic flux and how the dwarves brought it back to Vordal after everything was said and done. Initially, in the old version of this, the dwarves made a giant seal with which the Tachi and the elves imbued their magics, which kept the rift shut, the rifter infra shut. And I like the idea that there would be this artifact out there that would keep the demons like locked away. And so I used the flux to replace that. So now the flux, even though it's not technically a seal, I say that it's imbued with dark power now, and they've locked it under tons of rock. I want to use it for a mechanic to bring the demons back way into the future, because it'll be cracked or broken or blown up or something, and bad things will happen. So I wanted the seal to stay, and I didn't have like anything apart from the flux to do that, but the flux did the job just fine.